Hi, class. I figured I'd read a story since usually we read a lot of stories, but of course we can't together right now. I'm sure you're reading a lot of stories with your families still, which is awesome. I'm outside. Our classroom's on the front porch today because you guys know how I like to be outside when it's sunny. So, thought we could read this book called One Good Deed. The author is Terry Fields, and it's illustrated by Deborah Melman. Let's find out what this is about. One Good Deed. Even on sunny days, Lancaster Street seemed dark and gloomy. Neighbors did not smile at each other, or talk to each other, or help each other. But one day, as Jake climbed his mulberry tree to pick its ripe fruit, he saw old Mrs. Thompson outside her house next door. Suddenly, he had a thought that he never thought before. I bet she's sad she can't climb trees. I could take her some of these delicious mulberries. Oh, it looks like that made her smile. When Jake arrived, Mrs. Thompson was surprised. She was delighted. She had enough fruit to make 2 mulberry pies. Then she had a thought she never thought before. I loved getting these mulberries. I bet Mr. Riley next door would like one of my pies. So she went over and handed him a pie. When Mrs. Thompson arrived, Mr. Riley was surprised. Mr. Riley was delighted as he ate the delicious pie. He looked out the window and watched the kids next door playing ball. Suddenly, he saw the ball land on the roof of his garage. Then he had a thought he'd never thought before. I bet I could help them. I can take my ladder and get their ball. When Mr. Riley handed them back their ball, Jeffrey and Joshua were surprised. They were delighted. As they tossed it back and forth, they saw Mr. Lee hobbling on crutches to his front door. They had a thought they'd never thought before. Mr. Lee can't rake the leaves in his yard, but we could. Oh my goodness, that is so kind. When the boys arrived with their rakes, Mr. Lee was surprised. Mr. Lee was delighted. Soon, they were joined by Sammy Cohen from next door, carrying a rake. My computer's broken, so I can't finish my homework. I'll help you rake. Wow, their team is getting bigger and bigger. Then Mr. Lee had a thought that he never thought before. I'm good at computers. Maybe I could fix Sammy's computer. When Mr. Lee arrived, the Cohens were surprised. The Cohens were delighted, and before you knew it, the computer was up and running again. When Mrs. Cohen sat down to check her email, she looked out the window and saw Ashley from next door riding a rusty old bike. Then she had a thought she never thought before. We have a practically new bike that Sammy has outgrown. It would be perfect for Ashley. When Mrs. Cohen arrived with the new bike, Ashley was surprised. Ashley was delighted. She rode her new bike around the neighborhood, waving and smiling and calling hello to all of her neighbors. The neighbors were surprised. The neighbors were delighted. Everyone waved and smiled back. Soon, even on gray days, Lancaster Street seemed warm and sunny. How had that happened? No one knew. Not even Jake realized that it had all begun with a basket of mulberries and one good deed. So it only took one person to make a chain of good deeds happen in their neighborhood. And maybe you can take part in doing something good for your family or for your brother or sister or for your pets. Or maybe you could do something nice. You can wave at your neighbor and smile. And that's all it takes to make people feel good. So it can start with one person doing one good deed. And you can make and just turn people's day around. So maybe while you're home during all this, you can try and find that one good deed to spread that kindness around. So I hope you have a good rest of your day and enjoy this sunshine.